So this is a tricky one for if you have fear about something, particularly if it's very practical and reasonable and sensible fears. Now, I'm not talking about safety stuff. That's natural, you know. If you're thinking of doing what's it called, base jumping, and you're on the edge and it's your first time, I'm sure you'd feel a lot of fear. Or skydiving. I haven't done any of these things, but from what I can gather and from seeing videos of people, it looks terrifying. So I'm not talking about that kind of fear. And I suppose I have to back up a little bit and kind of talk about why bother to deal with your fears. And it sort of comes down to this thing of, do you think your thoughts and the way you think about things affects existence? There's no real proof one way or the other, so there's no like tangible, definite way you can kind of go, yeah, I should deal with my fears. You sort of have to find out for yourself, I think, and satisfy yourself. And that's certainly what I've done. So for me, I know that my fears, they have a big impact on the way things are and the way things work out for me. Plus, it has an even bigger impact on the way I feel. So for me, it's very worthwhile dealing with my fears because they have a direct impact on my reality. Not in a yes and a feeling way, but also in a practical way. And that's one of the reasons why I'm interested in manifestation. Not the kind of hippy-dippy kind of manifestation, the practical, I want to manifest a certain amount of money, and I use money because it's really tangible and I can't kind of swivel around it. I either do it or I don't. There's no way I could kind of go, well, I feel a lot better about money if my bank balance is not going up, or if I don't manifest what I intended to manifest. It doesn't matter. So I like it for that, because it's a way of seeing how I can influence existence, my reality, and I can change it. And that's very helpful. I think it's a very helpful skill. So for me, my fears are not just kind of out there. It's very important for me to deal with them. And that's where this idea comes from of your fears are justified for as long as you justify your fears. So for as long as you rationalize and go, yes, I have a good reason for being afraid about this, then that will be true. You will have a good reason. Or I do anyway, in my experience. I don't know about you. I just know about me. And in my experience, I can remember justifying fears, and the fears were justified. And then as soon as I stopped justifying the fears, then they were no longer justified, meaning it changed. And I can see it very clearly when I talk to other people who maybe have the same fears I used to have. And they'll go, oh, you want to be careful about that now, And I have seen myself waltz through, that conjures up a lovely mental image. I mean, go through things that in the past that would have been very difficult for me to go through. And I've gone through them without any problems. Nothing's happened, and it's all been good. Now, you could say, oh, well, that was just a fluke. That was just odds. And yeah, you could be right. But what I have found is that by focusing on what's going on in my head, what am I thinking about, and steering my thoughts towards a future I do want rather than a future I don't want. Because often people, or I've seen people and I've observed people justifying their fears and like without kind of thinking about, do I want this future to be true? You see it a lot in conspiracy theory. There's a kind of an energy in some conspiracy theory people where they almost want terrible things to happen just to prove everybody wrong and go, see, I was right about that. It's like, yeah, but is that the future you want? Is that really the future you want? Of course they don't. Everybody wants things to go well. Nobody wants bad things to happen. So I found that like through steering my thoughts towards the future I want, the future that I want ends up happening way more than it should, way more than 50-50. You know, I mean, depending on what it is that I want and what's going on inside me, but it happens way more often than it should. So for me, it's a no-brainer. It's a no question. And when I hear myself justifying my fears, that's when I have to sort of gently start deconstructing them for myself and kind of going, there are many possibilities. There are many, many possibilities. And this fear is just one of them. And yes, it might happen. Of course it might happen. But so might all the other possibilities. So the future's unwritten. I don't know. So I'm going to keep steering my thoughts towards the future I want, knowing that my conditioning and my mind is kind of hardwired to go towards the unfavorable future because it wants to plan for it, which sounds like it's a protection mechanism, but it's not really. Because if you think about all things that have happened to you in your life, the most shocking and awful things, you hadn't no plan for them, and you got through, and you'll get through anything else that happens. You'll figure it out. Or you won't, you know, that's a possibility to you. So I keep steering my mind back to the future I want, thanking it, but going, yeah, I've come to realize that thinking about the future I don't want brings it closer. So I'm going to think about the future I do want, and my intention is that it will bring it closer too.